Betrayal, revenge, high treason, and a dash of villainous sprinkled on top, and that is what you get with this series called I Am the Queen in This Life. So today, I want to take a few moments to really just sit down, talk about this series, and if this is a series that you potentially might be interested in. So as you can kind of guess from the brief little description I made of it, it is a villainous type of story. It's not exactly one-to-one villainous story, but there has definitely been an uptrend of villainous stories in modern times. I noticed for the past few years now, there's been a lot of different stories, to manga, webtoons, anime, etc., that have definitely become more mainstream and more popular when it comes to the villainous type role, where you have, let's say, someone that is either reincarnated to some degree, and they were once probably a bad person in their previous life, and now they're trying to be a good person, or maybe, they're reborn in a villainous's body, different things like that. This is an aspect or theme that is very common and something you see quite often nowadays, and honestly, I welcome it. I think it's a very nice, refreshing and change of pace than normal, let's say, isekai, where, just a character's reincarnated in a fantasy world, and that's kind of what this series is. You have a character that is already in a fantasy world, or in a world that is medieval times, and we get to see how, because of her decisions in life, and what her life led up to, caused her to basically die, and she gets a second shot at life. So, let's dive into the nitty-gritty. I Am the Queen in This Life, obviously by the title, kind of gives away of what you can really expect from the story. Basically, the main female character, she is someone that would do anything for the love of her life. That is what the beginning of the story really sets up. For instance, the first chapter, second chapter, and following chapters, it showcases that she is willing to go to extreme lengths to be able to be with the one she loves. And this person that she loves, obviously, does not treat her right whatsoever. You get to see very early on, from chapter 1 and 2, that he's someone that just doesn't really acknowledge her. He is someone that basically throws her into the wind, even though she has done so much for him. And to kind of give some backstory and context to this, pretty much, you had to where the person she's in love with was kind of like the younger brother that would never be able to obtain the throne. He would never be able to become the king of, let's say, the kingdom, because obviously he wasn't the rightful heir. But thanks to a little bit of treason, so to speak, and a little bit of working together with the main female character, they plotted and eventually killed the person that was supposed to be the king. And then, obviously, with that all set up, the main female character was destined to be the queen and also marry the new king. That was the entire goal or plot, and what was introduced within the first chapter of the story. But as we come to find out more, basically, the person that our main female character is in love with does not seem to really care too much about her. He is someone that seems to just care about his own goals, his own ideals, quest for power, status, etc. Makes sense, and he throws our main female character to the side, just doesn't care about her whatsoever. And normal stories with revenge, betrayal, etc. would just end at that. That's usually what it would be. For instance, the new king would probably kill her, and that'd be about it. But the story goes a little bit further than that. For instance, we come to find out that he never cared about her because his eyes were set on her older sister, and he always wanted her, and he felt like he was getting mistreated or disrespected when he was offered a common girl or lower born status girl over her older sister. So basically, it's really messed up. You kind of find out he's kind of a messed up individual. He's a little bit disgusting as a person, and you have it to where, like, all of this, since the very beginning, he didn't really care. He never wanted to marry her, he was just using her. So she's thrown basically into a prison, so to speak, locked up, and as she awakens, she sees her sister. Now, obviously, when you think of sister or family, whatever, they're there for you. And yeah, that's where things get a little bit dark. For instance, the sister, come to find out, even though she looks like she's a very pretty, happy, nice person on the surface, she has this darker personality to where she just wants status, power, and she wants to be noticed. And she is willing to basically do anything for that. And so she gets rid of her sister. You see basically a moment to where our main female character, she dies to her own sister. An ultimate betrayal, so to speak. Some of your greatest enemies in life might even be your family sometimes, and that's kind of what that moment showed, is that her greatest enemy was her very sister since the very beginning, that has been plotting since for years, like 8+ years, to be able to eventually become the queen. So that's where the story kicks into high gear, where, you know, episode or chapter 2 and chapter 3 of I'm the Queen in This Life Now, you know, starts to begin. Basically, she gets a full reset. She goes back into the past, like 10+ years in the past, so to speak, before she was ever really brought into this noble/royal family and met her actual sister. You get to see how she tries to make decisions and tries to figure out how to outwit things and spin this history in her favor instead of her getting the negative repercussions and eventually becoming, you know, betrothed or marry the individual that betrays her in the end. So it's an interesting story. It's a revenge plot with a little bit of a villainous, like I said, sprinkled in with some treasonous aspects, because one of the big things that the series does in the first 10 chapters is that you have the main female character. We found out in the first chapter she killed the original, like, person that was supposed to be the king, so to speak. But he gets introduced around chapter 5 or 6, and he's actually a really nice guy. He doesn't seem really bad or evil, whatever. And the point is that it seems like he's falling in love with our main female character, which is kind of messed up, because with the first chapter, so to speak, you know, our main female character killed him in her previous life. So the fact that he's around, he's falling in love with her, and she's getting to talk with him is going to lead to some very complicated discussions probably in the future. For instance, she might feel a lot of guilt for what she did to him in a previous life, and she might mention something, because obviously nobody knows she's been basically reincarnated or put into a certain point in time, but I feel like eventually she will open up about it. So yeah, it's a good story. Like, I really do like the webtoon a lot. If you are interested in something that is a little bit fun and something that, like I said, is a villainous type theme or whatever, you probably will enjoy I'm the Queen in This Life. I really do like it. I mean, it's legitimately good read so far. It's relatively short. Like, I have the pages pulled up on my screen right now. There's right now 12 chapters, and I believe there's like 15 or 16 chapters if you want to use coins to read ahead. It's a relatively, you know, quick read. It took me about an hour to catch up, but it was well worth the read, honestly. Very interesting, and I do like it. Like, I see a lot of potential in it, because right now the main female character is a really well-written female character, and I also really like the support characters, and I guess let's talk about that. So there's a character around chapter 4 or 5 that's introduced, kind of find out that there is these two sisters, and these two sisters have a very similar circumstance to our main female character that gets betrayed by her own sister, and there's a similarity there. And basically, the older sister betrays her younger sister, and throws her basically in a homeless shelter, so to speak, and just leaves her behind for she could be able to live in a castle, etc., and have a good life. In, you know, we find out, though, that the little sister is given a chance to be able to live with our main female character, and so she gets brought out of poverty, gets to be a better, you know, living status, gets to live better, etc., and it's a very interesting, you know, moment, because we see our main female character building allies. She is building, you know, people around her that will help her as the story progresses, because she even admits herself she actually never had anyone that ever really had her back in her previous life, because she was just so hell-bent on protecting, you know, her loved, or one she did love but didn't love her back, and she was so focused on that she basically never got to do anything else in her life. So, like I said, it's a good story. I really enjoy it, and if you're looking for something new, something that you might not have heard about, or, you know, might be interested, I do recommend it, because I know there is a lot of you out there that, you know, watch my channel and look for recommendations when I recommend something, and if you're looking for something new, and if you have the time to read it, I highly recommend you to check out this series. I'll actually have it linked in the description if you want to read it for yourself. It's easy, you can read it basically legally and free, so don't worry about that one, but, yeah. Just check it out if you're interested in it, but I guess I'll leave the video at that. I just wanted to shed some light on this little underrated gem of a story, and let me know your thoughts if you read it and how you felt about the story. But okay guys, be safe, stay healthy, and I'll talk to you all later. Chibi out.